do a dive up at curling, so we try to give a small tip. So we like to see the horses best way presented as they can be. So for us it's also important to communicate to the riders. I think Michelle, he was much more relaxed now, he will also put more legs in the neck, and now you can see that also she has a little bit better body use then, also more through the back. And then it's not as hectic as it was in the beginning sometimes, you get more rest in the movement, it's more fluidly everything. So I think you did really well there. You can clearly see the talent of this horse with the active hind leg, but you need to keep the length in the neck, I think, for sure with her to get her legs to the back. But you did really well the second part, so you upgraded from the first part, I think. So that's really important for us. And Ashlyn, I think it's also very well done because you could already see on the short size, you did immediately a small transition and then you can see immediately that the hind leg is engaged directly. So that's a really good quality. And you kept the balance, you kept a good rhythm, you also kept the uphill tendency in every gait. So very well done. Both very talented horses, totally different horses, but both very talented. Congrats with these products, and I hope we will see them in future sports.
Okay guys, so next up in the afternoon program, we're going to see a Gelder's mare.
Gelder confirmation and the scoring, just your discussion about it. About a 10-minute, maybe 15-minute discussion. They're going to get the other mares, and then
they don't need to fill in the linear scoring, right? That's
no. Okay. And then she will leave, and then theoretically.
This type horse on the confirmation, and also we're going to see her walk in hand, I think, and maybe even trot in hand or not.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. So Jos, you say the pedigree of this one, the name and the pedigree, so you can present it a little bit.
Her name's Nirvana, CCE. She is UB40 Eiselmer Rubenstein Vossmeyer.
Okay. So when she's presented in the Gelder's horse direction, well, we already talked about the Gelder's horse direction, so they can be a little bit more the classical type, as we say that. So a little bit more heavier boned, a little bit more heavier muscled. And we like to see them as a multi-purpose horse. So that's also important when they do, like, for example, for the IBOB, the Gelder's horses, when they show on the saddle, they need to do both things. They need to do the dressage test, and they can either choose the driving or they can do the jumping. So they can choose what they are doing, but dressage for sure, and then they have to choose for driving or for jumping. So when we see this mare, we start again with first impression, because I think that's really important. She entered the arena, and what's your first impression of this mare? Nobody?
She's fine. She's fine for you.
You say fine boned for the Gelders? Downhill. Okay. And more?
Her neck comes out.
Is she small, or is she long lined, or is she short coupled, or just begin with the overall general impression, I think. You think she's square? I think she has good length in the body. Yeah. And first impression is that she has an expressive head, she has a good look, she has good length in the body. That's the first impression. Maybe, like you said, she's a little fine boned for a Gelders. Yeah. Yeah, and you say she's somewhat downhill, but the Gelders don't need to be that built uphill as a dresshouse horse. So then we start explaining a little bit about her. So we say, so for me she's sufficient rectangular conformation. So that's for me sufficient. So I would score her 1 to rectangular in the conformation. And when we do that, we always draw the lines. We put a line, a vertical line before the shoulder, then one horizontal line above the withers to the croup, and then the point of buttock over there, we've also put a vertical line. And that box you can see if it's square or is it like a rectangular. But this one has enough rectangular model for me. So that's good, and if you like, we can score her one downhill in the body direction, like we said. So she's a little bit high in the croup at this moment, so you can score her a little bit downhill. You look to the pole, the length of the pole, and usually the open is over here, and this distance, like an Arabian horse, that's really open, and like a New Forest pony, that's more heavy in the neck connection. But this one, especially for a Gelders type, normally they're more heavy in the head-neck connection. So for a Gelders type, we have to consider that it's light in the head-neck connection. For dressage, it's not so light, but for Gelders it is light. So you have to consider that, because we have to compare it to the average of the population. Then we continue with the length of the neck. We draw a line from the shoulder over here to the connection with the head, and compare this length of the neck, compare it to the body and also to the croup. Normally, like we say, when a horse is well proportioned, we consider three parts. We consider the forehand for this, we consider the middle hand, like this part, and we consider the hind end, like that part. It should be almost equal to each other. Of course, the hind end is always a little bit shorter, but we part it in three parts. But I think the neck has a good length. For me, it has a good length, so we can score it long. And also for the Gelders horse, the position is in a good way. Not really vertical, but vertical enough. So we can also say that has a well-positioned neck with good length. Then you go to the muscling, you score the top line. Is this rounded, or is it like a dip before this with poor muscled? When it's arched in the top line, we say it's well muscled. When you never look to the, well, we will look to the bottom, but when we talk about the muscling of the neck, we always look at the top line. You can have like an under neck or deep out of chest, like a U neck, then you look at over here. But this one is not deep out of the chest, so you don't notify that. But the muscle in the top, I think it's average for me. For the Gelders, maybe a little poor even. Normally the Gelders are more muscled in the top line of the neck. So if you score this for the Gelders horse, maybe you have to do one pour in the muscling of the neck. Then we go to the withers, the height. We draw a line just above the shoulder from here to the height of the withers. For the Gelders horse, actually, it's a good, well-developed withers. For dressage horse it would be normal, I think, but for Gelders it's well developed. So you can score it high, and also has good length, so it's a fluent connection to the back. When we go to the back, what will we think of the back? Is it roast or is it weak? Weak, yeah, okay. So we score it weak. Going to the loin connection, this over here. The loin connection is a bridge from the hind head to the front head, so it's really important. For sure this one is well muscled. Is it roast, like a little bit like this, or is it weak and poor muscled? Average. For Gelders it is, because Gelders normally they are a little bit more roast in the top line than the dressage horse. So I think for average, it is average for the Gelders horse, I think. Then we go to the croup, shape of croup. I think I have to explain that a little bit. Then we go to the position and also to the length. We draw always a line. We don't look at the top line over here. We draw a line from the hip bone to the point of buttock, and you draw a line over there. Then you also draw a horizontal line, just straight from the buttock, and it's about this angle. So from the hip bone, it's over here, through the point of buttock over here, that line, and from a horizontally placed line from the buttock to the front, and it's about this angle we are looking for. So we don't looking at the top, and we don't looking at the tail, we look at the bone structure, which is over there, because that's so important for us, for the biomechanics of the horse. You can also draw for yourself a line from the buttock to the stifle, and you can compare this angle to the top angle. If they're equal, then it's actually quite a little bit sloping. If you have like a flat withers, then you can see then the buttock is higher than you have a sloping withers. So for a sloping withers, the buttock would be here, and for a flat withers, the buttock would be here. So if you have like the buttock over here, the point of buttock, then you have a smaller angle, and then you have a small, more flat croup. We prefer a flat croup, and Gelders horses normally have more flat croup. So for a Gelders horse, there's actually a sloping croup compared to the average population. For dressage, it would be maybe a little bit less sloping even, because then you see a little bit more sloping groups in comparison to the Gelders horses. And also for me, the length of the croup could be somewhat longer. Compared to the body and compared to the forehand and the back, could be a little bit longer. But so that's the way we look at the shape of the croup. And that's really important for us. Then we go to the stance of the front leg. We draw a line through the front leg to the bottom, and if it's over at knee, then it's standing like this. If it's back at knee, then it's the knee backwards. Well, you have to put it in an open stand. Yeah, correct. A little bit more. Back 4 feet, please. Yeah. To watch it clear. Actually, it's pretty normal stance, I think. Front leg is normal. It's not over at knee or not back at knee. Then we look at the stance of the hind leg, and you look at the angle. Ooh. This angle we have to look at. And the normal stance of the hind leg should be about 160 degrees. But we are not the carpenters, so we do it from our head. But when we see this hind leg, do we think it's straight, or is it normal, or is it sickle?
More a little bit towards straight.
Yeah, I would do also straight. It's a big angle in the hind leg. And then when you go to functionality, it's really important if she has enough bending in the hind leg. So if we see a straight hind leg and they do not bend it well, then it's a bigger issue for us than they use it properly. Then the next thing we always consider is the pasterns. Are they upright or are they weak? Normal stance is about 45 degrees. This one is a little bit more upright in the pasterns. I think the hind leg is quite normal, but the front leg is a little bit upright.
Is that bad?
Sometimes you lose a little bit suppleness in it, but for sure weak is not good, because that gets worse and worse. Could you walk one time? Yeah? Okay, you can return if you want. So now we see the correctness in front, and we can also see the shape of feet. Is he toed in or is he toed out? I think it's maybe slightly toed out, but it's very slightly. Can you trot also? Yeah? Yeah. Somebody with a whip, maybe?
I can try, but...
Yeah. Caitlin, you have a whip? You trot around in the ring, if possible. Yeah?
Did you walk already?
Yeah, we did a walk. Yeah.
Can we do like half the arena or?
How many rounds do you want to see? Okay, so for the Gelders horses also the trot is important. You like to see a little bit more action and bending. What we see now, she could be a little bit more carrying for me. She's a little on the forehand. So what we saw already, that she was somewhat downhill. You can see that a little bit in the movement also. The hind leg could be stepping a little bit more under. She has enough bending in the legs, also enough length of strides. But she could step a little bit more under the body. And for the Gelders horse, maybe her knee action could be a little bit more. Gelders horses are a little bit in between the riding horses and the harness horses. And then they have a little bit more action in the knee, in the front knee. Okay, that's better. She needs to warm up a little. Thank you, Josh. Could you line up her again? When you see the walk again,
There's only 2 times.
when I see the walk, then I see the straight hind leg also again. Then for me she could bend a little bit more in the joints, a little bit more in the hind leg, a little bit more articulation in her hock. But overall I think she's a correctly built mare. We didn't have any faults or defects on hers. We think she's a good enough type. Maybe a little refined for a Gelders horse. But a nice forehand, high withers, good enough shoulder position. Maybe could show a little bit more, the croup could show a little bit more length and is somewhat sloping. But she has lean legs, somewhat straight in the hind leg. But for me it's a nice enough type for the Gelders horse for sure. Any questions about it? Okay. Thank you, Josh.